So, me, Danny, and the doctor headed out to the back section of the steel mill. Of course, taking the time to bring all the necessary equipment with us, along with Titan as well. Apparently, as far as how the system worked, both me and the doctor would be wearing gear that would allow Titan to read our movements, included into its memory banks, on a highly detailed level. Danny was there with some equipment of his own, who would be tapping into Titan's read of the little sparring match, and using the calculations in order to custom fit weaponry, make sure that everything was sized appropriately, weighted appropriately, and fit my fighting style, whilst Titan simply accumulated data on my combat behaviors in order to better be able to interpret what my actions might be during a conflict situation, which was going to be a regularity during the Black Label races. So it was a good thing. After fitting up all the equipment and getting the go-ahead from Titan, I looked over to the doctor, simply standing there, nonchalantly, as if he didn't have a care in the world. Legs crimped tightly together, cane in front of him, gently leaning on it. He didn't even bother to take off his freaking hat. Doc, are you absolutely sure you want to do this? Okay, Jax. At this point, you're just wasting time. The faster we get done with this little throttling of yours, the faster it can be over. But as you need to be in good condition for the races, I'll try not to beat you too hard. I do still want you to have a functioning brain after all. Okay, Doc, you're starting to push it. I don't know who you think you're dealing with, but I am not one of these pushovers that you run into. I'm not some little errand boy you're just going to be able to brush off. I know what the hell I'm doing. Trust me, I've got experience. Oh, and I assure you, as do I. However, you'll find that my experience vastly exceeds your own. So, be worried about my safety, if you wish. But I assure you, in this little confrontation of ours, my safety isn't the one that you'll need to worry about. Okay, Doc, have it your way, I said, beginning to remove my gun and my extendable nightstick. Whoa, hold on there. You're going to need your equipment. At least the nightstick. That is your preferred weapon, at least at this point. Getting readings without getting readings of you using weaponry would be pointless. So you'd better keep it. At least the nightstick. The gun can go. I know you don't favor those anyways. Doc, do you want to get hurt? Like, I'm good with this thing. I don't know how good you think I am, but I'm better than you probably believe I am. By a wide margin. And you don't even have a weapon. Oh, of course I do. What do you think I'm carrying here? He said, lifting his cane off of the ground, and tossing it into one hand and shaking it a bit. This should be more than sufficient for this little test run. I assure you, it's more than functional. Fashion be damned. Many a man has gotten, well, what you would call a whooping with this cane, young man. Ugh, I said, taking a deep exhale. Okay. Remember, you asked for this, I said, beginning to take a stance, staring the doctor down. But he didn't even flinch. He just put the cane back down and gently leaned on it, standing there, just looking at me with a wide grin on his face. That toothy mouth of his, gleaming with those jagged teeth. I have to admit, his relaxation in this moment was getting on my nerves. I mean, people normally took me lightly, which I fixed pretty easily. But the amount of lightly that he's taking me right now is, well, it's just infuriating. And in the moment, I dashed out at him, heading as fast as I could in his direction, drawing my nightstick. First thing I did was go in for a sweeping blow from the left, swinging the stick wide, trying to give him at least a little bit of time to suss the move out, maybe dodge or block. But as I approached him, the bastard actually closed his eyes. It infuriated me even more, so I didn't bother stopping the swing. I kept going, and as the nightstick hurtled in his direction, seemingly out of nowhere, he grasped hold of his cane, holding it out with a single hand, blocking the blow, with his freaking eyes closed. So, I swung again, this time whirling back the other direction, going for his head. But once again, one hand with that cane, and his eyes closed. He just reached up and blocked it, like he knew exactly where it was coming from. I know I'm taking it easy on him, but jeez, how can he block me with his eyes closed? It's crazy. I took a step or two back. Perhaps I was taking the doctor a little too lightly, going a bit too easy on him. It appeared he wasn't entirely bluffing about his personal experience with hand-to-hand combat. Finally, his eyes opened and he looked at me after I finished taking a step or two back. Are we satisfied yet? Can you stop playing this little game of yours, where you act as if you're concerned for my well-being? I gave you the luxury of those 2 swings, and didn't even bother to retaliate. Hopefully you've got a better idea of who you're dealing with now, and we can begin playing this game in full. Stop pulling your punches, Jax, because I'm done pulling mine, he said, glaring across at me intensely as he hardened the grip he had on his cane. Now it appears that you can attack just fine. Let's see how your defense is, he said, and before I knew it, he was on me. He rushed up, faster than I'd ever give him credit for. Hell, faster than I've ever seen most people move, lashing out, swinging that cane at me. I barely managed to dodge it, only to get caught with a roundhouse kick in the gut, sending me reeling back. That packed way more of a wallop than I expected it to, I thought, as I clenched at my stomach for a moment and fell to my knee, looking up at him. Oh, isn't that a shame? You really must be more aware. Just because one has a weapon doesn't mean that they won't attack you with their body. It's a very simple thing. I thought someone with your level of experience would be able to grasp it a bit better. You really need to work on your defense. Perhaps you spent too much time fighting lightweights with no combat experience. Well, this should jostle those instincts of yours, he said, beginning to step towards me, this time moving slowly, his cane in one hand. Simply jauntily walking up, I could hear the cane tapping into the dirt with every step that he took closer. Fine, I thought to myself. No more games. Full bore. You won it. Then you got it, Doc.